reflects what happens when you pick up an army of raw recruits. And I'm not, no experience at all. None. And ask them to run a country. Not an easy thing to do. When Aaron came back in 1986, he brought back people that have experience with him. The guy who was Minister of Shooter, another experienced people. Tom Adams in 1970, sorry, Barry in 86 brought back. Tom Adams in 1976 brought back Matt and Cox. I benefited enormously as a Prime Minister by having access to Henry Ford and Bree St. John on the backbench, but in the parliamentary group. David Simmons and Billy Miller in the cabinet. But this Labour Party cannot feel that you remain strong as a party if people come to public life, and good people too, and just to serve a short while and then they vanish, especially if a lot of them did it. And they said this in St. Peter. They want to say it again. That it makes it that much more difficult for the party if a core of persons come into the prime don't understand the need for political continuity. And I must express my disappointment that some who have been given the opportunity to serve and to understand what cabinet government has made decisions about their life, that don't have the Labour Party at their core. But I don't want too many of them to do it. And this evening I therefore want to put out that plea that there's still those who have had that opportunity to serve, who have not yet gone into the 20s or even 15 or even 30. The party needs you. And that if we have every election to be looking for new candidates, it really makes it that much more difficult to constitute a serious government. Now, this constituency is one of them being candid with you, where you've lost a person who has not yet come to the prime, but have left politics. And let me just therefore speak a little bit about St. James South politics. This is a constituency that we can and must win. In the last election, Hinesville, the lower income parts of the constituency supported the Barrow Party. The poor people did not desert us. We did not do well or as good as we should have done in the middle class areas. But we must repair that. And fortunately for us, this is the constituency that has the largest concentration of middle-class professional people in Barbados who support the Barbados Labour Party. It is just that we have to go about organizing them better. In the last election, I had to do something I never had to do in an election before. In addition to being involved in the general campaign, I had to spend time putting together a support group of our middle-class supporters in this constituency to work with the candidate. I spent long hours doing that. And in part because, quite frankly, there were people who used to be friends of the candidate who used to come in on election and help. But the Labour Party does not have permanent friends nor permanent enemies. We have permanent interests. And there can be elections come when your so-called friends desert you. You have to rely upon your supporters and your members. And there is a need in this constituency to go about the business of organizing our supporters in this constituency in a more powerful and organized way. Because I'm satisfied, based upon what I did in the last election, when I tried to do it at the last minute to put them together. I'm satisfied that if they're brought together and made to be part of a team on a sustained basis, there's no them that can beat us in this constituency. Now, I want to also say a number of things. In 25 years in Labour Party politics, I do not get involved in constituency contests and try to force candidates on constituencies. I almost did it once when Henry Ford told me, and I can talk the truth, that Duguid was not working and send Carrie Simmons to Christchurch. So, yes, and I did that, foolish me. only to have the backlash in the public. But I don't do it. I do not walk with candidates seeking nominations. And why? Because I feel like it has to be left to the real members of a branch. And why? I went through this myself. In 1984, when I sought to come to public life, it was the branch members of the OwenArthurPart who saved me. Tom Adams had a view that ministers must face the polls. It isn't that he was opposed to me, but he had people in his cabinet who had never run, so he said ministers must run. And OwenArthurPart found himself in St. Peter. But the members of the branch were clear. Clear. OwenArthurPart cannot win this seat. OwenArthur can win it. We will support OwenArthur. And it isn't that they were rebelling against a prime minister or that they hated O'Brien. Members, genuine members and supporters of the party in a constituency have a feel based upon what people are telling them who is the best person to come forward and to represent them. So that you will notice that and Sandra, I'm not going to walk with you. I'm not going to oppose you. But I'm not going to walk with you because I don't do that. I mean, the contest is ended. In 3 terms as a leader of the party, once by a fair and free election, somebody is nominated, I embrace them. I work with them because I don't have candidates of my own. You, the branches, must have your candidates. And I mean, once you have a candidate, once it is done by fair means, I welcome that person into my team. I will work with that person. That's how I deal with it. And I want, quite frankly, a lot of the anger and the artificial contest to be taken out of the way in which we in the OwenArthurPart party go about choosing our candidates. As I said once, I feel that the branch has been allowed to speak. I trust the ordinary man and the ordinary woman to tell me what is happening in their constituency. I don't agree that people should come and falsify lists and manipulate and force candidates on us who are lemons. Don't agree with that part either. But I also, therefore, want to say to you in St. James South what I said to St. George. That if you have good people, even before you get to the contest for a nomination, I believe that the key members and the supporters of the branch should gather together among themselves and talk through the matter first. And talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of the persons who are coming forward. And what it is that you are hearing on the ground as to who would be the best person. And do not ignore local knowledge. So that when we come to have the nominated candidate, the person who eventually is nominated is the person who the constituency genuinely wants. And that your neighbors who are not members of the party genuinely wants. And that the nomination, the election, therefore, should only be a formality if we organize ourselves better. And therefore, I want to say to you in St. James South what I said in St. George. Before you go to nomination, call the key people, the key supporters of this branch and the constituency together and talk it through. Don't have a meeting like this with the press and even myself and Jerome and others here. Have some local leadership. Bring yourselves together and talk it through and share with each other that which you are being told. Take the anger out of Labour Party politics.